You will not imagine how many youth end up not enrolling into our local youth programs because of all the requirements they have to complete before receiving assistance. You're probably thinking, why does this apply to me in any way? Well, let me explain. This is important for you to know because we have a mix of different fields in this room: criminal justice field, medical field, and lastly, organizational field. And at some point in our career, you may run into working with youth that you would like to give an extra hand by referring them out to a local youth program that could change their lives. Remember, as leaders, we have the power to influence others, and by knowing about programs that could help a youth, we will make a difference. Because remember, the youth are the future. Now, with that said, let me share with you a story of a youth named Damien, a youth that recently got out of being incarcerated, did not have a high school diploma, and his parents were not in the picture. He was not in possession of a birth certificate and was not allowed to receive services of a youth program without meeting all of the prerequisite requirements. He's one of many youth that get turned away from our state-funded programs that initially are made for youth with barriers, but instead only add more to them. During the first months in our reports, it showed that 20 people were interested in our youth, but only 12 out of those 20 were enrolled, meaning 40% of the youth were not enrolled, which is almost half. Now I will explain why it's important for the state to revise the enrollment process for the youth in order to receive services from our state-funded programs. We will look at the problem, effects, and solutions. We have a serious problem. There are too many requirements for the youth to enroll in a program that is meant to serve youth with barriers. From birth certificate, social security, passport of service, and transcript, they may have a cost or may be difficult to obtain. Birth certificates have a cost of $25, a cost that we cannot cover for any youth, whether they're homeless, runaways, or any youth at that. The state should allow vouchers for youth that really do not have the funds to be able to obtain the money to be able to afford to get the birth certificates. The passport of service take about a week to obtain. Social workers have the clients make appointments in order to get printouts, and since the pandemics, it has taken up to 2 to 3 weeks to obtain. Now, 2 to 3 weeks for youth is a very long time, and during this time, we could lose the engagement of the youth from being interested from our program, with them just giving lost hope and them not wanting to enroll anymore because of the length of time. Remember, it's a critical time between a youth getting out of jail or a youth really trying to change their life. We have to try to give them the services as fast as we can so we can make sure that they go into the right path. Transcripts can be picked up by youth at local schools, but in 2020, when the pandemic hit, one of the lowest numbers of youth were enrolled due to all of the schools being shut down. Transcripts were very difficult to obtain, and this made a huge impact to our programs because we were not able to get the transcripts. Also, transcripts are very hard for youth that are homeless or runaways to just go to the school and obtain a copy. We are not allowed to give the youth any type of rights, and if they're not getting any services from other programs, it is really hard to be able to try to obtain those transcripts. So basically, what we do in our program is that we try to give them employment and educational programs. But the hard part is that either they're in the program and we could assist them, or they're out of the program and we can't assist them at all. Another issue is that testing is required and it takes about an hour or two to complete. The testing is something that is very, very negative in the enrollment process because according to the headline, Anxiety disorders affect an estimate of 25% of 13 to 18-year-olds, which causes untreated childhood anxiety that causes children to do poorly in any types of tests. This is a big issue because as soon as they hear that there's a testing involved in the enrollment, they usually want to not enroll to the program. Although we are aware of these problems, I cannot emphasize enough on the effects. The two main effects the youth experience in obtaining documents and completing the testing that is required prior to enrolling. Students give up in the enrollment process because of the length of time they have to wait to get their documents. We're facing a crisis since the pandemic to obtain documents as it only increases. And this is continuing to happen because we have so many people in the welfare offices trying to get any other types of documents where it just makes it very difficult for youth. When youth are aware also that they have to take a test, many of them choose just simply not to proceed. The TABE and CASAS tests are basic and academical skills, real-world context, but they're not considered if there are an initial requirement before entering the program because it causes a lot of anxiety. As you see, the effects cause many of the youth not to enroll, but they could be easily fixed with the solutions I will now share. The clear solution is that the state needs to revisit the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act and change enrollment requirements and eliminate testing. If we had direct access to documentation from the agencies, it would be much easier. Meaning, if we were able to get documents directly from the San Joaquin County Welfare Office directly, this would just make the process way easier. Instead of having the youth go back and forth from office to office, we could simply just send a release of information where we could just get documents directly through our email. Also, if we get covered vouchers, this would be such a useful solution. Why? Because they would be able to go and use their vouchers to get birth certificates or anything that costs money to try to enroll in our program. And the last thing is eliminating testing. It is important to eliminate the testing because even our local community colleges don't even require assessment tests before entering schools. So why should we have testing for youth that are currently already suffering with many barriers and we're just adding more? In conclusion, today we learned why the state should revisit the enrollment process and make changes for the youth to be able to access the services that are provided. We looked at the problem, the effect, and solution. And like I mentioned, 40% of the youth within a month are not enrolled in our program, which is almost half that are interested. By the few changes that we are able to make, we can help youth like Damien that change their life access programs that can lead them to graduating and employment. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope that you agree with me that the state needs to revise the enrollment requirements. Thank you.